Hello, hi, happy Wednesday. For those of you who are new around here, my name is Megan Freeland. I am a pharmacist by training, a public health pharmacist specifically, but I work as a health communication specialist and a health content strategist in my company, Stock Rose Creative. And I also help other health professionals learn how to become health writers. I do these weekly health writing tips videos. And sometimes in those videos, I talk about actual practical and actionable tips for health professionals who are interested in entering the field of health writing. And sometimes I talk more about health writing and medical writing at large in general. So today is going to be one of those videos that is more high level. And what I want to dive a little bit into are the results of an informal survey or poll. I think poll is the better word. It wasn't a survey, but an informal poll that I did on my LinkedIn profile several months ago because I was interested in understanding why there are not more healthcare providers in the field of health communications. So when I think about this question of why there aren't more of us in health communications, I kind of think about it in two ways. I think about why there aren't more of us in medical writing at large as like an umbrella industry. And then I think more specifically, because health communications is kind of a subset of medical writing, I also think about why there aren't more healthcare providers in that particular subspecialty as well. And the results of that poll were really interesting. The main two reasons that people gave for or at least that they believed that more health professionals weren't in these spaces were lack of awareness about the existence of these spaces at all, and then lack of experience. And we'll get into a third theory that I have a little bit later, but starting with this lack of awareness, I completely agree. I 100% agree with the results of this poll. Let me say that up front. I think that as someone who has been through pharmacy school, has been exposed to a lot of other people who have attended different pharmacy schools, and then even beyond the field of pharmacy, other health professionals who went through their respective academic programs, those spaces tend to be very narrow in scope in terms of what type of career or outcome they are designed to help their students achieve. I think in the case of pharmacy, it's no secret that most of what students are taught through those programs is information that they would need to become a pharmacist in a community or a pharmacist in a hospital or a health system. And those are kind of the two major tracks that curricula are built around and that experiential practica are also built around. And so unfortunately, a lot of students don't necessarily have exposure to a lot of the opportunities that exist outside of those very core traditional paths. When you do look at the opportunities, which in my opinion are still too few, the opportunities that do exist outside of those paths that are talked about to some extent in these programs, it's still kind of like your managed care. What else, y'all? Help me out. Drop a comment if you could think about some like non-traditional, but actually, are they really still considered non-traditional because they're kind of getting more mainstream? Drop those in the comments if you're watching this on the replay and can think of some of those. But there are still standard, less traditional paths that are discussed outside of the kind of community and hospital settings. But I find that when you start getting to things like medical writing, that starts getting a little bit more elusive, and students who are going through these training programs don't necessarily have a whole lot of information, not even just about like what it entails, but about the fact that it exists in the first place. Unless you are coming across pharmacists or other health care providers in your own personal networks who you know of who are in those spaces, or, you know, there's some one-off random reason why you just know that this field exists, a lot of students are not exposed to that same information, which is unfortunate because, at least in my experience, I found that I was able to really build. Well, I should back up and say that my first exposure to health writing of any kind was during my undergraduate years at Emory University. I had a work study job at a health education website, specifically a cancer education website, and I was able to contribute content for it. And so, combined with that experience, as well as my interest in public health and my desire to be a public health pharmacist, I knew that I was going to be using writing as a skill that was going to help me achieve what I wanted to in my career. I knew that I wasn't going to be practicing pharmacy in the traditional sense. I knew that I would be applying my background to public health. So I had the advantage of having this awareness up front and then being able to take the steps that I wanted to take while I was still in school in order to create a solid foundation for me to be qualified to do that type of work right after I graduated. The problem with students not having exposure to these opportunities while they're still in school is that they miss out on all of these chances to build that foundation while they're still learning and growing before they're out in the real world, right? And so I think it is quite a disservice for future health professionals not to be more fully aware of and exposed to the different types of medical writing that exist so that they can have the opportunity to learn more about them while they are still in the process of actively molding and crafting what their careers are going to look like. So I think lack of awareness is something that we need to start addressing in our institutions at the institutional level, not just, an extracurricular group brings in a speaker who happens to be a medical writer. That's great for the students who are then exposed to that. I mean, every year since I've graduated, I think I've gone back to my alma mater, Mercer University, and spoken to the SNAFA group about my career and my path. That's wonderful. I enjoy doing that type of thing. And I think that, those of us, especially who are in non-traditional careers, should continue to do that. But also, there are so many more students at Mercer than the students who are in that room when I'm sharing with them. And so I think we need to make sure that the awareness, the access, the information is being distributed in a way that's equitable so that everyone, all the students who are involved in these institutions, in these academic programs, are being exposed to this variety of career opportunities. And then beyond school, which is like a place where we're learning, we're taking in information, we're exploring, right? That's a place where we should be soaking up new things. Then when we get into our professions, the world kind of gets a little smaller because you're focused on performing well at your job, learning the nuances of your job, figuring out the politics, doing this and doing that. You aren't necessarily in a place where it's as easy for you to explore different types of opportunity outside of whatever it is that you're doing, right? And so the chance to become exposed to and become aware of other opportunities that exist out there are much more limited and restricted once you are then kind of placed into the real world and in your career trajectory. And so that is one of the reasons why it's important to me to make sure that I am, as best as I can, sharing my knowledge of medical writing, of health content marketing with fellow health professionals, because I know that the exposure to that information is not always readily available. And so my ask to those of you who are always watching my videos or commenting on my posts, or who find value in the information that I have been creating on LinkedIn for the past 6 or 7 months, I think it's also something that you can also do is, if you have friends who are in your network who are health professionals and who might not have exposure to the same type of information, share videos, share posts. I know a lot of you who are interested in more formal types of medical writing. I talk to you a lot about the American Medical Writers Association. Send articles that you read there, send opportunities, make sure that the information that you gain, make sure that you are then going back and sharing that with the people in your network, because they might not be exposed to the same information that you are. And that might help someone down the road who I'm not connected to, but maybe you're connected to them, or maybe someone you know is connected to them. So I think that what we can all do in our real professions is that when we do become aware of things that are interesting, that are outside of those traditional trajectories, that we're making sure to spread that knowledge and information. The second most common, and I think it was kind of tied with lack of awareness, so it might have been an equally common response, but the second common response that I received to the question of why do you think more healthcare providers aren't involved in health communications is lack of experience. And again, I 100% agree that that is a real thing, where even if you are a health professional who is aware that medical writing is a thing, that it exists, and that health professionals do it, that PharmDs do it, MDs do it, PAs do it, PhDs do it, nurses do it. If you yourself don't necessarily have what you would consider to be strong experience in any type of medical writing, that can serve as a barrier. That can make you feel as though you are unqualified to be in any type of medical writing space. And I don't know your individual situation. So to some degree, maybe you don't have formal medical writing experience, or, depending on what type of medical writing you're interested in, whether you even know what type you're interested in, maybe it is the case that you could benefit from more experience before you would be qualified for a full-time position or qualified to freelance for someone. But the key is, one, being able to recognize that these are even opportunities that are available to you. And then two, being able to find resources. Excuse me, y'all, I'm trying to get over this cold. Being able to find resources that can help you gain more knowledge and gain more experience, so that if this is something that you're interested in pursuing in the future, you are more qualified to be able to do that. And so my suggestion there is to, one, identify resources that help you learn more about individual types of medical writing. I have so many people who reach out to me, which is wonderful because I love to talk to you guys in my messages, in my direct messages. But I have so many people who reach out to me saying, hey, Megan, I want to enroll in your Health Professionals to Health Writers program. And y'all know, if you talk to me in the DMs, you know that the first two questions I'm going to ask are, I'm going to say, great, so glad to meet you, glad you're interested. What type of health writing are you interested in? And what are your specific health writing goals? And a lot of people say, oh, I didn't know there were different types of health writing. And then a lot of other people say, well, I think I'm interested in, peer-reviewed publications or writing journal articles, to which my response is, that's great. That's not the type of health writing that I teach in my course. However, here's some resources that might be helpful for you in learning more about that. So I think one of the keys to getting to a place where you can even get that experience is doing some deep diving into what are different types of medical writing that are available to you. I have several posts that I published about different types of medical writing back in December or January. I'll try to remember to link those down here in the comments if you find those helpful. I'll also link this really helpful article from the American Medical Writers Association that in it talks about several different types of medical writing. The type of health writing that I teach is health content writing. It's basically creating blog posts. That's the specific type of health content I teach, even though content is an umbrella term that refers to a whole lot of other things. Content can be podcasts, content can be interviews, presentations, infographics, but the specific type of health content I teach is blog posts. And so I teach health professionals how to create blog posts for health companies, how to use that to build an additional stream of income fight health misinformation online. So if you ever reach out to me and say that you're interested in any type of health writing that does not consist of writing blog posts for health companies, I'm going to direct you elsewhere, which is fine. I'm still happy to connect with you, but I encourage you to look for more information about the specific type of health writing or medical writing that you are interested in, so that you have more tailored, relevant advice about what you can do to gain experience in that area. The third reason why I feel like there aren't more healthcare providers in health communications is kind of tailored towards those of you out there who are aware of the field and who may or may not have the experience, but maybe have dabbled in some type of health writing a bit. Maybe you've written a blog personally, or you've written a newsletter for your employer, but you have this fear or lack of confidence in your skill or in your potential, your ability to ever be a medical writer. So like, you know that it's out there, you know that it exists, and you might have dabbled in it a bit, but you don't see yourself being a person who's qualified to be a medical writer or a health writer or someone in health communications. And I don't know about other health professions out there, but I can say for pharmacists, I feel like a little bit of imposter syndrome, but also just a little bit of feeling like you're so stuck in a particular path that you don't know how to do anything outside of it. I feel like that fear or that perception is what prevents a lot of people from having the confidence, the bravery, the courage to step outside of that path and attempt to do something else. I just like, so my pharmacist colleague, I'm pretty sure his name is Alex Barber. I'm so sorry if I messed that up, Alex. My brain is kind of fuzzy right now. He was actually a significant part of the reason why I decided to go into medical writing as a career. But he either today or yesterday posted something on his LinkedIn account that was kind of, I skimmed it. I'm going to be honest. I just skimmed the post. So I think it was talking about the fact that pharmacists have a lot of fear. And especially for those of you who have been maybe in a community or in a hospital setting for a long time, the more time you're in those settings, the more you feel like it is impossible for you to do anything outside of that, because that's all you know. And pharmacy is such a specific profession, right? I think about it like I think about teaching. Like, my husband was a teacher for almost 10 years, and he still works in education, but not in the classroom or directly within the school district. But there was a steep learning curve when he left the classroom, because there's so much of teaching is very specific to that experience. And having to learn how to do anything outside of that comes with a lot of pressure, and it's just a steep learning curve. And I feel like pharmacy is kind of similar in that there's a lot that you have to learn that has nothing to do with what you've been doing for the past however many years. However, if you never step outside that path to try anything else, you'll never be able to do anything else. So if you go to work every day and you're unhappy, or maybe you go to work and you like your job, but you just want to mix it up. You just want to do something else in addition to that kind of gives you some variety. These types of opportunities, whether it's medical writing or health writing or something completely different, those types of opportunities are going to require you to take that step, that courageous step, to put yourself out there and learn something new. And I don't think that any of us want fear to be the reason that we are stuck in a particular place, because to a degree, you have the power to overcome that fear. Fear is power. It can have power over you, or you can use it to have power and control over your own place in life. But that requires you to take a courageous step and immerse yourself into something that might feel unknown to you or might feel uncertain to you. Try to look at it, though, as a learning opportunity. You know, if you think about it as, this is something I'm interested in learning more about, these are the steps that I can take to learn more about it. That is much less high stakes than, oh my gosh, I have to figure out something else to do. Like, if I jump into this writing thing, it has to be a whole new career for me. There's levels. There's levels between staying exactly where you are and dropping what you're doing right now to do something totally different. It doesn't have to be either or. It doesn't have to be a black or white thing. But when you start taking smaller steps towards learning different skills, learning from different people, gaining different types of information, then you can decide how to best use that information to apply to your life and create a career that you love and that you're excited about. Whether that career is 100% in community, or 80% in community and 20% in writing, or 50% in community or 50% in writing, or whatever combination of work and experience that you want to make a part of your professional trajectory, the first step to figuring that out is having the courage to step outside of your comfort zone and learn something new. So just to recap, the three main reasons that I think that there aren't more healthcare providers in health communications are lack of awareness, number one, lack of experience, number two, and then number three, fear. All of those things are things that, to an extent, we can influence and we can control. So I would like for you to, if you identify with any of those three barriers, to try to find ways that you can begin to overcome those barriers, and that you can help other health professionals begin to overcome those barriers as well. I think I'm going to call it a day. If you have any comments while you're watching on the replay or questions, happy to read them. I made a post about this a couple of days ago, but I know that there are a lot of videos on my LinkedIn account. I do a video every Wednesday, and so there are a lot of videos. It's a lot to parse through. I also have a YouTube account where the videos are much more organized, and it's easier for you to kind of find something you're looking for, or binge or share or whatever. So I will be sure to leave a link to that YouTube page in the comments below so that you can have access to that. If you just want to go search for it yourself, go to YouTube, and in the search bar, you can type health writing for health professionals. I almost forgot what the name of the page was. But again, I'll include a link in the comments, and you'll find it's a lot easier to navigate the videos there and to find what you're looking for or what's most relevant to you. So thanks for tuning in. I will see you all next week.